You see, pain has a way of making us feel like it's over, like the chapter is closed, the lights are off, and the story has ended. But I came here to tell somebody tonight, pain is not the end, it's not a full stop. It's a passage, it's a valley you're walking through, not the place you're meant to stay. The enemy wants you to believe that what you're going through is the final scene. But God is still writing. Just because you're in a painful place doesn't mean you're in the wrong place. It might just mean you're passing through a necessary place. When you're in pain, the enemy whispers lies. This is your life now. You'll never get out. You'll always feel this broken. But the devil is a liar. Pain is a process, not a prison. It doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to develop you. You're being refined you're being strengthened under the pressure. The crushing is not to kill you, it's to bring something greater out of you. Sometimes we want to get to the promise without passing through the process. We want the crown without the cross, the triumph without the trial. But purpose is forged in pain. Destiny is shaped in discomfort. You don't become who you're called to be on the mountaintop. You become that person in the valley when you're crying yourself to sleep and still choosing to trust, when you have every reason to give up, but you keep showing up anyway. There are some things you only learn when you're hurting. Pain will make you pray like you never prayed before. Pain will push you into a deeper relationship with God. Pain will humble you, strip away your pride, and remind you of what really matters. It doesn't feel good while you're in it, but it's working for your good. You don't see it now, but you'll look back and realize that the very thing you thought was breaking you was actually building you. If you think about the seasons of your life that shaped you the most, I promise it wasn't the easy ones. It was the seasons that tested you, that stretched you, that made you question everything. Those were the moments that grew you. And some of you are in that place right now. You're asking, why me? You're wondering if God has forgotten you, but He hasn't forgotten. He's forming, He's molding, He's pruning, He's preparing you for what you prayed for. You don't know what's on the other side of this pain, but God does. And let me tell you, He wastes nothing. Not one tear, not one heartbreak, not one sleepless night. Every part of your journey is part of His plan, even this, especially this. It may not look like purpose, but it's packed with it. It may not feel like progress, but it's pushing you forward. Pain is a tool in the hands of a purposeful God. It may not be pretty, but it's powerful. You got to make up your mind that you're not going to die here. You're not going to stop here. You're not going to let pain define your future. You might be hurting, but you're still breathing. That means purpose is still alive in you. That means there's still more for you to do. Your story doesn't end in the valley. Your story passes through it. God didn't bring you this far to leave you. And He didn't allow this pain to crush you. He allowed it to carry you closer to Him. Sometimes we treat pain like a permanent address, but it's just a stop on the journey. You're not stuck. You're passing through. And if you keep walking, if you keep trusting, if you keep holding on to faith, even when it doesn't make sense, you'll come out of this stronger. You'll come out wiser. You'll come out with a testimony that has the power to encourage someone else. And that's the part we miss. Your pain isn't just about you. Somebody else is waiting to hear how you made it through. Somebody else needs the strength you're building right now. The breakthrough you're walking toward isn't just for your blessing, it's for someone else's deliverance too. That's why you can't give up. That's why you've got to keep going. Your pain is personal, yes, but your purpose is bigger than you. So hold on. Don't let the night fool you. Morning is coming. Don't mistake a moment of pain for the end of your purpose. God is not done with you. He's doing something in you, through you, and for you, even now. And when you feel like you can't take another step, just remind yourself, this is not the end, it's the passage. Let me tell you something that might just shift the way you look at your struggle. Your pain has purpose. I know it doesn't feel like it right now. I know the tears are real, the weight is heavy, and the questions keep piling up. But buried inside that pain are seeds, seeds of purpose, seeds of power, seeds of destiny. What you're walking through is not wasted. It's not random. It's not meaningless. There is something in it that's going to bless you, grow you, and bless someone else through you. Sometimes we think that purpose only comes dressed in victory, in applause, in open doors. But purpose often hides in the dark places. It hides in heartbreak. It hides in disappointment. It hides in the lonely seasons where you don't know whether to cry, pray, or just scream. But God does some of his greatest work in the dark. Seeds don't grow in sunlight. They grow in the soil. They grow in the buried places. They grow when it looks like nothing is happening at all. And some of you have been buried by life, not realizing you are actually being planted. You've got to understand that there's something in this struggle that is working for your good. You might not feel it. You might not even believe it yet. But let me tell you, every single moment of pain has a purpose attached to it. And no, you may not see it now, but you will, because God never allows pain without permission. He doesn't waste your wilderness. He uses it. He turns it into wisdom. He turns it into ministry. He turns it into testimony. There are people assigned to your void, people assigned to your story. People who are going to need what you're learning in this valley. You may not see them yet, but they're coming. And when they come, they won't need someone who's perfect. They'll need someone who's been through something, someone who understands what it means to be broken and still believe, someone who knows what it feels like to want to give up but chooses to stand anyway. Your pain is qualifying you for that. Your pain is your preparation. You ever wonder why the enemy fights you so hard? It's not just because of where you are. It's because of where you're going. He knows if you ever step into your purpose, if you ever rise from that pit, if you ever figure out what's really inside of you, hell is in trouble. That's why he comes after your peace. That's why he attacks your confidence. That's why he tries to convince you you're not enough. Because he knows your pain is producing something powerful. And if you ever discover that truth, you become unstoppable. See, some of the most impactful people you will ever meet are not the ones who had it easy. They're the ones who walked through fire and came out with something to say. They're the ones who turned their pain into fuel. They're the ones who took their wounds and let God use them as weapons to help others fight. That's what God is doing in you. He's not punishing you. He's positioning you to speak life, positioning you to lead, positioning you to change the atmosphere when you walk into a room because you carry the oil of experience. You didn't cry for nothing. You didn't lose for nothing. You didn't endure all of that for nothing. God is taking what the enemy meant for evil and turning it for your good, and not just for the good of everyone you're about to impact. That's why you can't quit. That's why you've got to keep pushing, because someone else's breakthrough is on the other side of your obedience. Someone else's healing is connected to your testimony. You've got to understand the very thing the enemy used to try to bless you, God is going to use to bless you. The very thing that caused you shame, God is going to turn into glory. That failed relationship, that closed door, that dark night of the soul, it's not the end of your story. It's part of your calling. It's part of the evidence that you didn't give up, that you kept walking, that you held on when everything told you to let go. And one day you're going to stand in front of someone who's exactly where you are right now, and you will look them in the eye and say, I know it hurts. I know it's hard, but there's purpose in this. I've been there and I made it out, and you will too. That's the power of pain when you let God use it. That's when the enemy loses, when you take what was meant to destroy you and turn it into something that builds someone else. So don't hide your scars. Don't be ashamed of your story. Don't downplay the struggle, because somebody needs to see it. Somebody needs to know that it's possible to come out of this. Somebody needs your story of survival to believe they can survive too. What's growing in you right now might not be visible yet, but it's real. And when it finally breaks through the surface, the fruit is going to bless more people than you ever imagined. You're not just surviving, you're becoming. Faith is what holds you together when everything else is falling apart. Faith is not just for the good days, when the bills are paid and your body feels strong and the phone rings with good news. No, faith is for the moments when nothing makes sense, when the job is gone, the relationship is ended, the diagnosis is in, and your heart is barely hanging on. That's when faith becomes your anchor. See, the storm will come. Life doesn't ask for your permission to hit you. It doesn't knock politely before it shakes the foundation of everything you thought was stable. But the storm is not your enemy. The storm is your test. The storm reveals what you're really standing on. And if you're anchored in faith, you might bend, you might cry, you might scream, but you won't break. There are moments in life where you look around and see no evidence of God's hand. You'll pray and heaven will feel silent. You'll seek answers and none will come. But faith says, even when I can't trace his hand, I'll trust his heart. Faith doesn't always give you clarity, but it gives you confidence. Not confidence in yourself, but confidence in the one who has never failed and never will. You have to understand that faith isn't a feeling, it's a decision. A decision to believe even when it hurts. A decision to keep walking even when the path is dark. A decision to lift your head even when the weight on your shoulders says to bow down. Faith is saying, I still believe. Not because everything is going right, but because I know who holds tomorrow. And if I know who holds tomorrow, I don't have to be afraid of what I'm facing today. Let me tell you something. Faith doesn't always remove the storm. Sometimes it carries you through it. We pray for God to change our situation, but sometimes He's trying to change us in the situation. And faith says, God, even if you don't move the mountain, I believe you can. And even if you choose not to, I'll still trust you. That kind of faith, the kind that holds on when it would be easy to let go, that's what builds character. That's what builds legacy. That's what builds testimonies. And some of you are in a place right now where all you have is faith. You can't see how it's going to work out. You can't understand why it happened the way it did. But your faith is still whispering, don't quit, don't give up, hold on just a little while longer. Faith doesn't mean you won't cry. Faith doesn't mean you won't question. Faith doesn't mean you won't feel tired or discouraged. But faith means you'll keep showing up, you'll keep praying, you keep trusting. And when you do that, when you hold on to your faith in the middle of your pain, you give God something to work with. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in life happen when there's no logical reason to believe, but you choose to believe anyway. When you're standing in the middle of nothing and you still speak like something is coming. When you're surrounded by lack, but you talk like overflow. That's the kind of faith that moves mountains. That's the kind of faith that breaks chains. That's the kind of faith that confuses the enemy. Because let me tell you, the enemy is not intimidated by your comfort. He's not intimidated by your talent or your gifts. What shakes him is your faith. When he throws everything he can at you and you still say, God, I trust you. That's what makes hell nervous, because that kind of faith is unshakable. Now, I know some of you are thinking, but I'm weak. I don't have that kind of faith. But here's the good news. God never asked you to be strong all the time. He just asked you to believe. And even if your faith is small, even if all you can manage is a whisper of a prayer, He can work with that. He said if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. So stop disqualifying yourself because you don't feel strong. You're not here because you never struggled. You're here because you kept believing through the struggle. And sometimes faith looks like holding on with everything you've got while heaven is silent. Sometimes it means saying, God, I don't understand, but I'm still here. And can I tell you something? That still here, that matters. That still here speaks volumes in the spirit. That still here gets heaven's attention. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to keep your eyes on the one who does. You don't have to carry it all by yourself. You just have to trust that the one who carried the cross can carry you too. And He will. He's already walking ahead of you. He's already making a way where there seems to be no way. So tonight, let your faith rise. Not because everything is easy, but because you serve a God who is faithful. The God who showed up before will show up again. The same God who brought you through the last season is still with you in this one. And if you hold on to your faith, even in the middle of the fire, you will come out on the other side, not just surviving, but stronger. Don't quit. That's the word tonight. That's the cry of your spirit. Even if your mind is tired, even if your heart is heavy, don't quit. Because what you're carrying, what you're walking through, what you're pressing against, there's something on the other side of it that's worth every tear you've cried, every fight you've had to endure, every lonely night, every moment of confusion. It's not for nothing. You're closer than you think. The hardest part of any journey is often the last stretch, that final climb before you reach the top, that silent moment right before the breakthrough. And it's right there, right in that place, that the enemy whispers loudest. He tells you to stop. He tells you you're wasting your time. He tells you it'll never get better. But the presence of pressure is often a sign of proximity. The closer you get to what God promised, the more the pressure intensifies, because the enemy knows if you ever push through this, he can't hold you anymore. And I know it feels like everything in your life is fighting against you right now, but you're not losing. It's labor. You're in a birthing season. You're not breaking down, you're breaking through. Don't confuse the pain of the process with the end of the promise. Just because it's hard doesn't mean it's over. It might mean you're on the edge of everything you've been praying for. You didn't come this far just to come this far. You didn't cry those tears for nothing. You didn't survive all that you've survived just to give up here. There is too much purpose in you, too much calling, too much destiny. And I know you're tired. I know you feel like you've been faithful and forgotten. I know you feel like you've been showing up, giving your all and still coming up short. But let me tell you, God is not finished. What he started, he's faithful to complete. Sometimes you've got to push when you feel empty. You've got to press when you don't see results. You've got to trust even when you feel disappointed, because the blessing doesn't always show up on your timeline, but it's on God's, and his timing is perfect. You might feel like you're late, but God is never late. He's setting the stage, lining things up, preparing what you can't even see. You're asking him to move, but he's already moving. You just haven't seen it yet. And here's the thing. What you're going through right now, it's not proof of abandonment. It's evidence of development. You're being prepared for what's next. You're being stretched, refined, matured. That closed door, that rejection, that season of silence is part of your training. It's developing strength in you that you're going to need for the blessing, because God doesn't just want to give you the promise. He wants to make sure you can carry it. Sometimes we pray for elevation, but we're not ready for the weight of it. So God lets us walk through some valleys to build our capacity. That pain you feel is building capacity. That delay, it's building endurance. That disappointment is teaching you how to stand. You're learning how to trust him when you can't trace him. You're learning how to walk by faith and not by sight. And if you can just hold on, if you can just stay in it a little while longer, you'll see what all this pain was pointing to. You see, the enemy doesn't fight you for where you are. He fights you for where you're going. He sees the greatness on your life. He sees the oil on your head, and he knows if you ever make it out of this, if you ever realize how anointed you are, how chosen you are, how much power is in your story, everything changes. That's why he's been trying to wear you out. That's why the attacks have come one after another. That's why you feel like you can't catch your breath. But let me tell you, if you're still standing, that means you're still winning. The very fact that you haven't given up is proof that the enemy didn't win. And if you've got enough strength to stay in the fight, you got enough strength to finish. Don't let this moment fool you. Don't let the pain blind you to the Don't let tiredness talk you into forfeiting your future. Sometimes you got to preach to yourself. You got to remind yourself of the prayers you prayed, of the promises God made, of the battles you already won. You got to say, I didn't survive all of that to die here. I didn't make it through that fire to lay down now. I didn't lose everything to come this far and quit. I've come too far, cried too much, fought too hard, believed too long. You're closer than you think. Your breakthrough is not on the other side of perfection. It's on the other side of perseverance. Just keep walking. Keep believing. Keep praising, even with tears in your eyes. Keep showing up, even when your heart is breaking. Because one day, and it might be sooner than you think, the door is going to open, the answer is going to come, the weight is going to lift, and you're going to realize it was all worth it. So don't quit,